Okay, thank you once again, Madam Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. Today, for our roundtable discussion on archives in the community, I speak to you on my oral history project. These projects, though interrupted by COVID-19, proved to be very enlightening with a wealth of information in many areas. For my presentation, I document the memories of individuals, and I call this Voices of the Ordinary in the Archives. When I say ordinary, I refer to persons who live their lives in private, who are not normally vocal or popular in their respective societies. They are former gardeners, babysitters, policemen, pilots, engineers, cooks, nurses, etc. by profession. Basically, they're retirees are no longer or near retirement. Right. Having a little technical challenge here. Now,
we see your screen.
Okay. Now, there was a study by Stephen Anderson, Gillian Cohan, and Stephanie Taylor, and they wrote about an article called Rewriting the Past, Some Factors Affecting the Variability of Personal Memories, which was published in 2000. And basically, they showed that the memories of older adults were more stable in terms of content compared to those of the younger generation. They showed greater variability across successive recalls. Now, when here, can I see my screen? Now, when hence this is why I'm using this group for my community archives. There are two projects. One is called the Migrated Caribbean People, where I would have interviewed persons from St. Lucia and Barbados. Some persons from St. Lucia would have migrated from St. Lucia to Barbados, and there were Barbadians who would have migrated to places like Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, United States of America, United Kingdom, Germany, and Dominica. And my second project is with the Diocese of Bridgetown, Barbados, where I am going to be conducting some oral history studies and also taking care of their archives. Now, as this presentation is very short, I'll give a glimpse of information collected from 4 individuals, 4 females, and I've called this area Migrated Caribbean Women. The first person is Jeannette. I've used pseudonyms for all of my participants. She's from St. Lucia and she migrated to Barbados in her 20s, and her interview is in Creole. She speaks about coming to Barbados on vacation, like the island. She likes the island. She was encouraged to stay by her cousin. And then she also spoke about the challenges of working in Barbados in the sugarcane industry, having not done this type of work before. She gave a glimpse of her school days growing up in St. Lucia and walking great distances to school and not being able to speak the Creole language in school. Though it was spoken in the community, it was not allowed in school. And this language was kept alive for her through Creole songs, particularly during the flowers, particularly done by the florist societies, the La Rose and La Marguerite. And I agree with my colleague yesterday when he talked about digital colonialism. So basically, I believe that this was language colonialism on their part, not being able to speak their language. Now, I will share a short clip of her interview. I don't think it's being heard, so I'll try that later. Now, the second person is called, her name is Daisy. Well, her pseudonym is Daisy, and she's also from St. Lucia. She's 78 years old. She lost her only son a few months ago, and in her interview, she explained why she migrated, and she recalled her pregnancy and the ordeal of having to walk a long way to get transportation to go to the hospital. She spoke about giving birth to a 10-pound baby boy. Needless to say, she never had another child, as she was a celebrity in the hospital where the nurses and other people came to see this bouncing 10-pound baby boy in those days. And of course, like many persons in her generation, she spoke about the natural medicines and remedies which are almost lost. The third person is Ella, and she's 83 years old. She's a Barbadian who migrated to Trinidad because her family migrated to Trinidad, and later she migrated to the US. Now with Elaine, she's also a nurse. She's a nurse. And she spoke about changes in Oistins, Barbados. The town in her time it was mostly a residential community, as opposed to now where it's more of a commercial town, which she does not recognize today. She spoke about the American base in Trinidad and Tobago, where she met her husband, who turned out to be abusive, but nevertheless, this is where she met her husband. And she also talked about the Caribbean persons who came to New York. Now, she's the nurse, as I mentioned earlier, in a maternity ward for over 40 years. And she spoke about the many Caribbean persons who worked in the hospitals in those days. And of course, she worked the night shift because the night shift paid more money than the day. The fourth person, Betty, she's also Barbadian, and she migrated from Barbados to the United Kingdom, also at an early age. And like all the other women, they left their children at home to later migrate their children to the new home. Now, she spoke about having to share with others in accommodation in England, and that was the reason why they didn't bring their daughter to England until sometime after, when they were better able to afford accommodation. Now, all of these stories collaborate historical memories noted previously in archives, and also of the collective memory which Professor Bastian just spoke about, in addition to historical and national memories of the various Caribbean nations. As I wrap up, I will speak briefly about the Diocese of Barbados archives. The diocese is embarking on documenting the history of St. Patrick's Cathedral through the eyes of its congregation and of course of their beloved parish priests who have been there for many years. The oral history project, as envisaged by the then Chancellor, will add to the written documentation on the cathedral and the history of the Catholic Church in Barbados. Now, unfortunately, in 2020, the 50th anniversary of the cathedral being consecrated as a cathedral, we weren't able to go through the project, but the church does have a history dating back to 1948, and this upcoming project would help preserve history for the future generations, particularly as St. Patrick's is part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2011, which as part of the historic Bridgetown and its garrison. In relation to St. Dominic's, now I've approached a couple persons, and some persons have actually been approaching me to be interviewed for the 50th anniversary. In addition, the church will also publish a book, and I've asked its parishioners to submit photographs and other archival items in their possessions for inclusion in the book. Now, the Chancery Records is also another area, but time does not permit this discussion. I will leave you with a quote by Anderson, Cohan, and Taylor, which is here. Memories of the older adults are more stable in terms of content. The memories of the younger group shows greater variability across successive recalls.